Strange body, strange human. The lights in the alien medical lab were cold and bright. Machines hummed softly. Dr. Valara, a tall alien woman with violet skin and silver eyes, stood over a metal table. On it lay a human male, unconscious, injured, and barely breathing. She looked at him and laughed softly. "Humans," she said with a smirk. "So weak. Their biology is like wet paper." Her assistants, two smaller aliens, chuckled along. "He was found on the battlefield," one of them said. "All his squad was dead. He was the only one alive." "Of course he was alive," Valara said, rolling her eyes. "Human stubbornness is the only thing keeping him breathing." She tapped a button on her scanning tool. A blue beam moved over the human's body. Internal readings appeared in the air above them. Heart rate, blood pressure, organ status. Everything seemed off. Valara said, frowning. "His heart rate is too slow for a human in shock." She ran the scan again. This time, a soft alarm beeped. The machine highlighted his blood cells. "What?" she whispered. The screen zoomed in on the blood. His white cells were moving too fast, regenerating, changing, almost fighting back. "That's not normal," she said, confused. "Should we run another test?" asked one assistant. "No, I'll do it myself." Valara picked up a sterile needle and took a sample of the human's blood. She walked over to her private analyzer, a more advanced machine than the standard scanner. As the machine began its work, Valara looked back at the human. His skin was pale, but his chest rose and fell slowly. His face looked peaceful, even while half his ribs were crushed. "I don't get it," she muttered. "This kind of injury should have killed him within minutes, but he's stabilizing." A soft chime rang from the analyzer. Test complete. Valara stepped forward and stared at the results. Then she blinked. Then she blinked again. "No, that can't be right." She pressed a button to recheck the numbers. The data didn't change. His immune system is adapting, not just healing, but learning. Fast. She scrolled down the readout. Some blood cells were glowing in the model, marked as unknown. Not human, not alien. Something in between. "What is this?" she whispered. The assistant stepped closer. "Is there a problem, doctor?" Valara quickly shut the screen. "No, just run standard recovery on him. Keep him under sedation." "Yes, doctor." But Valara didn't move. She stared at the unconscious human again. His name tag was still attached to his torn uniform, J. Reeve. She said his name out loud. "Reeve." As if hearing her, the human's fingers twitched. Valara froze. "Did you see that?" she asked. "No, doctor. See what?" "Nothing," she lied. "Never mind." She turned away, walking quickly toward her office, blood sample still in hand. Inside her private lab, Valara locked the door and placed the sample under a special quantum microscope. The view shocked her even more. The human's DNA was shifting, mutating in perfect order. No signs of disease, no cancer, only controlled evolution. She pulled out an old research file, a forbidden one, about early alien experiments with hybrid genetics. The Council had banned those studies centuries ago, and yet the patterns matched. "This human," she whispered, "he's not just surviving, he's changing." Her hands trembled slightly. Was he part of some human experiment, or was this natural? She didn't know yet, but she knew one thing. This human wasn't normal, and if the alien high command found out what she'd discovered, they would not let him live. Just then, her private console beeped again. A message appeared. "Unauthorized DNA markers detected in specimen 12B. Report immediately." Her heart jumped. They knew. Valara looked back at the frozen sample. Her thoughts raced. She had mocked humans all her life, called them weak, simple, unworthy of science. But now this human's body was doing something even her own species had never seen. She could report him, follow orders, and erase the evidence, or she could dig deeper, understand him, protect him. Valara sat down, eyes locked on the screen. One final thought in her mind. What are you, human? The test results. Don't lie. The lab was silent. Too silent. Dr. Valara sat frozen in her chair, staring at the test results on the screen. Bright red markers blinked beside the human's blood sample. Alien letters flashed warnings. Unidentified DNA signature. Unknown immune response. Do not share without level 5 clearance. But it was the last line that made her heart pound. Hybrid strain detected. Possible cross-species evolution. No, she whispered. This has to be a mistake. She stood up quickly and loaded a second blood sample into a different machine, one she trusted more. As it hummed, Valara rubbed her arms. The room suddenly felt colder. Behind her, the human lay unconscious in the other room, still breathing slow and steady. Reeve. She muttered his name again. What were you really doing out there? Minutes passed. Then the second machine beeped. Same result. The unknown DNA markers were back, stronger than before. Not random, not broken, but organized. Like a system, like a design. Valara's breath caught in her throat. You're changing, but you're not sick. You're upgrading. She zoomed in on the results. His white blood cells were moving fast, like soldiers under command. They attacked foreign threats instantly, more efficiently than anything she had ever studied. Even stranger, they ignored her lab's nanoprobes. No one resists nanotech, she said out loud. Not even our own species. But the humans' blood did. It didn't attack the probes. It adapted to them, as if learning their code. Valara felt something shift inside her. Fear, awe, she wasn't sure. Then came a soft knock. Doctor? It was her assistant, nervously peeking through the door. There's a message from Central Biocontrol. They want the humans' results. Valara froze. Tell them the results were corrupted. The assistant blinked. But now. The assistant nodded quickly and left. Valara turned back to the glowing screen. The results pulsed slowly, almost alive. She remembered how she had laughed at human biology, how she had called them soft, slow, foolish. Now one lay in her lab, rewriting everything she believed. She opened her secret file locker, a digital vault no one else knew about. Inside, it was a single forbidden folder, the Prometheus Code. It was an old project from before the wars, an illegal program banned by the Galactic Council. Rumors said it involved early contact with humans, genetic tampering, evolution experiments. Valara clicked it open. What she saw chilled her, a diagram of DNA almost exactly like the humans. Except it wasn't human DNA. It belonged to an ancient species, extinct, powerful, and classified as dangerous to galactic stability. Somehow this human's blood was echoing that code. Not identical, but close enough to raise alarms. Who created you? Valara whispered. Or, what created you? Suddenly, a quiet sound came from the other room. A cough, then a breath. She turned fast. The human, Reeve, was awake. His eyes opened slowly. Not panicked, not confused, just calm. He looked straight at her and said her name. Valara. She staggered back. You were unconscious. How do you know my name? Reeve blinked slowly, his voice dry but clear. I saw you, in the dream, in the snow. You were standing over me. There was no snow, she said quietly. He stared at her. Not here. Somewhere else. A cold place. You were watching. And then, everything went dark. Valara couldn't speak. Human biology didn't include memory while unconscious, and definitely not visions. She moved toward the wall and pressed a silent alarm, but it didn't work. The system blinked red, blocked. She turned back. Reeve was sitting up now, pale but steady. You blocked the alarm? She asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he smiled weakly. You shouldn't be afraid of me. Valara didn't answer. She only whispered one thought in her mind. What if this human isn't just evolving? What if he's remembering something ancient? He woke up and spoke her name. The room felt heavy. Dr. Valara stood frozen near the wall, staring at the human who should still be unconscious. Instead, he sat upright, breathing slowly, watching her with calm eyes. Valara, he had said. Her name. Clear and exact. No human could know that, not without a data link, not without hacking her private files. But his face wasn't cruel. It was peaceful, like he wasn't here to hurt her. How do you know my name? She asked again, carefully stepping closer. Reeve tilted his head slightly as if confused by her fear. I saw you, he said, not with my eyes, in my sleep. You were there. You were afraid. I wasn't afraid. Valara snapped too, quickly. Yes, Reeve replied gently. You are now. She clenched her fists. Her scanner was still in her coat pocket, but she didn't move. Do you remember what happened? She asked. I remember falling, he said. Smoke, my squad, gone. I was dying, and then I felt cold. But I heard a voice. Your voice. My voice. Valara's stomach turned. He nodded. You said, what are you? And then everything stopped. She stepped back. That was exactly what she had whispered hours ago in her lab. How could he know? Valara walked to the monitor, pretending to check his vitals. She just needed a second to think. His heartbeat was perfect. His oxygen level stable. But his brainwave activity was off the chart. It looked almost alien. You're not just a human, are you? She asked softly. Reeve didn't answer. Instead, he looked at his arm. The skin where the machine had pierced him was already healed, completely smooth. Valara saw the same thing. That wound was fresh just 5 minutes ago. I feel fine, Reeve said, still staring at his skin. She narrowed her eyes. You should feel pain. You should be sedated. I woke up when you were afraid, he said again. I don't know how, I just did. Valara moved to the other side of the room and quietly pressed her hand against the hidden wall panel. A steel divider dropped between them, just in case. Reeve didn't resist. He didn't even flinch. He looked at the glass and spoke softly. You think I'm a weapon? No, Valara lied. I think you're a problem. Reeve chuckled. It was soft, almost kind. You scanned me, didn't you? That's why you look so nervous. Valara didn't answer. You saw something. Strange, he continued. You don't know what it means, but it scares you. Stop talking, Valara said coldly. You're a patient, not a prophet. But deep inside her mind was racing. He was right. She was scared, not of him hurting her, but of what he might be. Something created by accident, or designed with purpose? Suddenly the lab lights flickered. Valara looked up. The power was failing. She tapped the control screen. Warning, external systems offline. Biosurveillance disabled. What's going on? She whispered. Reeve looked toward the ceiling. They're coming for me. Who? Valara asked, her voice sharp. He leaned forward, placing his hand on the glass. Whoever made me, or tried to stop me. Valara's heart skipped a beat. Outside the lab she heard boots, not her staff. Heavier. Military. She turned to the control panel and opened a hidden camera feed. A small team of alien soldiers was entering the medical wing. Quiet. Armed. No insignia. Why would soldiers enter a medical lab without clearance? She asked herself. Reeve answered. Because they know I'm awake. Valara stared at him. He was too calm, too certain. He wasn't confused or weak anymore. He was thinking clearly, smarter than before. He was changing. And now someone wanted to erase him before anyone else could learn the truth. Valara took a deep breath. In that moment, she made a choice. She pressed another button on her console, shutting down the biolock. The glass wall between her and Reeve hissed open. He stepped out slowly. Not like a prisoner, but like someone stepping into a role he didn't ask for. "Why are you letting me out?" he asked. Valara looked him in the eye. "Because I want answers before they erase both of us." Reeve nodded once. Outside, the soldiers moved closer. Inside the lab, human and alien stood together, both unsure what was coming next, but certain of one thing: the truth was more dangerous than either of them had guessed. The hidden project. The hallway. Lights outside the lab turned red. Valara heard the soft hum of energy weapons being charged. The soldiers were closer now, silent, trained, and dangerous. She turned to Reeve. "You said they're coming for you. Why?" Reeve didn't answer immediately. His eyes were distant, like he was remembering something painful. "They're not here to ask questions," he said at last. "They're here to erase the answers." Valara's breath caught. That line, "erase the answers," felt too familiar. Her hands moved quickly across the console. She opened a hidden folder in the station's restricted files. It had no name, no title, only a code, Project V13P. She entered an old scientist's clearance she had once stolen during a field study. The file opened. What she saw made her blood run cold. Inside the file were photos, reports, test logs, all human. The earliest images showed human children in isolation tanks covered in wires. Notes written in secretive alien code spoke of gene triggers, cross-blood testing, and behavioral overwrites. But the last page was the worst. Subject number 13, status escaped. Class, terminate on sight. She clicked the image. It was Reeve. Same eyes, same scar near his temple. He wasn't just a soldier, he was an experiment. Valara turned to him slowly. "You're subject 13. Reeve didn't flinch. "I was, but I ran. They said I was broken, useless." "But you're not broken," Valara said, voice shaking. "You're evolving." "They made me forget everything," Reeve said. "But when I saw you, something came back. The labs, the pain, the cold water, and a voice saying, 'I shouldn't exist.'" Valara felt her knees weaken. The council had lied. These experiments weren't rumors. They were real, and they had used humans like tools. She looked down at her hands, disgusted. "We mocked your kind," she whispered. "Laughed at your biology." Reeve met her gaze. "You were meant to. That's how they hid the truth." Suddenly, an explosion rocked the hallway. The power flickered again. Emergency sirens wailed. "They're breaching the door," Valara said. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a small data drive. She inserted it into the terminal and began copying the hidden files. Reeve stepped closer. "Why are you helping me?" She looked at him. Really looked. Not as a subject, not as a human, but as someone who never chose this fate. "Because you didn't ask for any of this," she said. "And because I believe the galaxy needs to know what they did." Reeve nodded once, but time was running out. The steel doors of the medical wing slammed open. The soldiers were inside now. Valara hid the data drive in a small wrist casing and sealed it shut. She turned to Reeve. "There's a tunnel under this lab," she said. "It leads to the old science wing. No cameras, no guards. It was sealed after the outbreak last year." "How far does it go?" Reeve asked. "To the old shuttle yard. If we can get there, we disappear." Another blast shook the walls. Valara grabbed a satchel of supplies. "We have 2 minutes, maybe less." Reeve's voice was low. "If they catch us, they won't take us alive." "I know," she said. She looked at him again. Not as a doctor, now, but as a partner in something far greater than science. Something that could expose the truth of what her people had done. As they entered the tunnel, lights flickered above them. The passage was narrow, filled with dust and old wires. Valara sealed the lab door behind them with a command lock. They ran. For the first time, side by side. Not human, not alien, but survivors of a lie built by power and fear. And just behind them, death followed, silent, fast, and ready to wipe the truth forever. Alien Council wants him erased. Far above the lab, In a floating crystal dome, the alien High Council sat in silence. 12 chairs, 12 leaders, eyes cold as stone. In the center, a blue hollow image spun slowly. It showed Reeves' face. "Subject 13 has awakened," said Counselor Crane, his voice sharp and bitter. "The doctor failed to report it. Instead, she is assisting his escape." Whispers moved through the room like wind through dry leaves. "Why would she protect a test subject?" another asked. "Because she saw what he is becoming," Crane answered. "And now she thinks the experiment was wrong." A pause. Then Counselor Vetra stood. "Wrong," she repeated. "You speak as if this was a mistake. We designed Subject 13 to evolve. He is doing exactly what we planned, just not under our control." "That," Crane said firmly, "is the problem." Deep underground, Valara and Reeve moved through the tunnel's final bend. Each step echoed louder. Each second felt stolen. Valara checked the map on her wrist. "There's a ladder just ahead. It leads to the emergency vent system." Reeve nodded. "How far until we're out?" 8 floors up, then 200 meters east. "We'll be near the old shuttle bay." Reeve stopped for a second. He touched the wall. It vibrated softly. "They know where we are," he said. "How?" Valara asked. "I don't know," he said. "But I can feel them. Like they're pushing into my mind." Valara's eyes widened. "Telepathic tracing?" "No. Something deeper," he said quietly. "Like I'm still connected to them, and they're pulling the chain." Back in the council dome, Crane turned to the other members. "I suggest we activate the silent protocol." All 12 heads turned to him. Counselor Vetra frowned. "That command hasn't been used in 2 centuries. "If Subject 13 reaches public space," Crane said, "everything changes. The experiments, the laws, the lies. All of it comes crashing down." "So," said another counselor slowly, "we kill him, and everyone who knows." Meanwhile, Valara and Reeve reached the ladder. She climbed first, fast and quiet. But halfway up, her hand slipped. Reeve caught her, one-handed, and pulled her back. Valara stared down at him, breathing hard. "How did you—" "I don't know," he said. "I'm getting stronger." They reached the top. Valara pushed the vent open. Fresh air hit them. They were almost free. But just as they stepped out, boom, a shockwave hit the vent shaft from below. The entire tunnel exploded. Flames roared upward like a dragon's breath. Valara and Reeve flew forward, hit the ground hard, rolling through dust and metal debris. She coughed, bleeding from her shoulder. Reeve sat up fast, eyes glowing. Faintly for a second, he didn't notice the pain. Didn't feel the heat. He was no longer fully human, and that scared him more than anything else. In the sky above, black ships descended from orbit. Council hunters. No flags, no warnings. Just silence. Reeve looked up at them. "They're not just trying to stop me," he said. "They want to erase the entire project." Valara nodded. "Including me." "But why?" he asked. "Because if you exist," she said, "then the Council has lied for decades. Lied about humans. Lied about peace. Lied about what they're really afraid of." Reeve stared into the sky. "What are they afraid of?" he asked. Valara answered, voice low but firm. "You. Break out from the biolab." The sky turned dark with Council hunter ships. Valara and Reeve ran through the smoke and debris. Behind them, the ground was cracked, vents blown apart, flames reaching high. No sirens, no alarms. Just silent death raining. From above, Valara clutched her bleeding shoulder, her breath heavy. "We're not going to make it on foot." Reeve grabbed her arm. "We will." "How?" she snapped. "They've locked the skies, the gates, everything." Reeve looked down at his hand. It was shaking, but not from fear. From energy. Small. Sparks like lightning danced across his fingers. For a second, his veins glowed beneath the skin, pale blue and pulsing. "I don't know what's happening to me," he said quietly, "but I think it's starting." At the top of the nearest building, a hunter ship hovered. No engines. It moved like a shadow, silent and smooth. Inside, Commander Dren, a dark armored alien with no face, watched two dots on a screen, Reeve and Valara. Target approaching Zone X, an officer said. Commander Dren pressed a button. Send the drones. Below, the air shimmered. Invisible machines, shaped like wasps, fast and silent, darted toward the ground. Valara and Reeve reached the edge of an old landing pad, long abandoned. She pointed to a crashed shuttle, half buried in vines. There. If we can power it up. Something sliced past them, barely missing Valara's face. It cut clean through a steel post. Sniper drone, Reeve shouted, pulling her down. The air buzzed again. Valara gasped. There's more. She tapped her wrist device, sending out a field pulse. I've activated a magnetic shield. It won't last long. Reeve looked up. A drone hovered 10 feet above, nearly invisible. It turned, charging another shot, but before it could fire, Reeve stepped forward. Without thinking, he raised his and the drone exploded, not from a bullet, from his hand. The energy had jumped, wild, pure, focused only by instinct. Valara stared. You did that? I didn't mean to, he said, shaking. It just happened. But it had worked. The other drones paused, confused, scanning again. Valara opened the shuttle door. Get in, now. Inside, the ship was dusty, half dead. No fuel, Valara said. But if I reroute power from the pulse battery... She jumped to the control seat, typing fast. Outside, more drones swarmed. A message came through on a private comm channel. Only 3 words. Subject 13. Terminate. Reeve clenched his fists. His body was changing faster now. He felt it in his blood. His vision sharpened. His hearing stretched beyond walls. He could feel every step of the drones, every movement in the sky. He didn't just react anymore, he predicted. Valara, he said, get ready to launch. We don't have fuel yet. We don't need much. She looked back and saw his arms glowing again, brighter this time. Reeve stepped outside the ship. The drones attacked. 10 of them. Lasers. Missiles. Full strike. Reeve stood still, arms raised. Then the energy inside him burst out. Not a scream, not a beam, but a shockwave. The nearest drones shattered mid-air. The rest swirled off course, sensors fried. Inside the ship, Valara shouted, Launch system online. Go, Reeve yelled. She hit the button. The old shuttle engines coughed, sparked, then roared to life. Reeve jumped in just as it lifted off, the floor beneath him cracking from the force. As the ship climbed, 2 hunter cruisers gave chase. Tracking them now, one pilot said. They've broken the no-fly zone. But inside, the shuttle, Reeve held onto the wall, eyes wide with glowing light. He whispered, I'm not just escaping. Valara looked at him. He finished his thought. I'm becoming what they were afraid of. The future of 2 worlds. The stars above were silent. The stolen shuttle flew low over a dead moon, its engines flickering. Inside, Valara sat at the controls, her hands trembling. She had rerouted the final power cells to hide their trail. Reeve sat across from her, quiet, his body still glowing faintly. He didn't look hurt, he didn't look tired, he looked different. Not human, not alien. Something new. Where are we going? He asked softly. Valara looked out the window. There's a hidden station near the black sector. No patrols, no surveillance. I have contacts there. Rogue scientists. People who still believe in truth. Reeve didn't speak for a long time. Then, he whispered, I don't want to hide. Valara turned. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do, he said. I can run, or I can speak. If you speak, they'll find you. They'll kill you. Reeve stood slowly. They already tried. In the council chamber, the leaders watched the feed from the last drone. Reeve unleashing a power they didn't understand. Counselor Crane slammed his hand on the table. He's not human anymore. He's not even a subject. He's a symbol. If others find out, they will follow him, Phaedra said. Her voice was calm, almost afraid. Crane turned. Then we silenced them all. No, she replied. We tried that. And now look what we've created. Back in the shuttle, Valara stared at Reeve. You were created to obey, to fight, to serve. Reeve shook his head. No. I was created to end something. She stepped closer. What do you mean? He looked into her eyes. To end the fear, the lies, the control. He opened his hand. The energy sparked softly, glowing gold this time, not blue, warmer, calmer. I'm not a weapon, he said. I'm a message. They reached the black sector. The hidden station was buried inside an asteroid field, dark, old, and full of exiles. No laws, no leaders, just survivors. Valara guided the ship in. Dozens of eyes watched from the shadows as Reeve stepped out. They had heard the whispers. The human who burned drones with his hands. The experiment that lived. The one they fear. He didn't raise his fists. He didn't give commands. He only said one thing. I want to speak. A transmission was sent, short, clear, undeniable. Reeve stood before a camera, his eyes calm. I was made in secret, built to be forgotten. But I survived, and I remember. He told the galaxy what the Council had done. He showed the scars, the changes, the truth. Days passed, then weeks. And across the galaxy, humans and aliens watched. Some were angry, some were afraid, but many were inspired. In small cities and forgotten colonies, others began to speak too. The Council tried to block the signals, but it was too late. The truth had spread like fire. Valara stood beside Reeve one night, under an old broken dome where stars shined through the cracks. You changed everything, she said. He shook his head. We did? She smiled, softly, the way only someone who once believed in lies can smile after finding truth. What now? She asked. Reeve looked at the stars. I learn who I am, not what they made me. She asked, and if they come again? Reeve turned to her, his voice calm. Then I'll remind them why they were afraid.